Hello everyone, it is Christine here. I hope you are having a wonderful weekend. I think it will be everyone's weekend by the time you're seeing it. So I am back to do some work on my Roxy Journal of Stitchery, where I am making a box, a slow stitch box for the prompt of May, which is a box in the slow stitch style. This is the prototype one that I showed in the previous episode for this project. It's a little house shaped box. And it's going to have a folding lid. I've thought about it a fair bit, and I think I'm going to have one side of the lid attached on, and then I'll have a hinging part at the front to open it up and allow access to what's in the box. It's going to have a longer wall at the side and then a shorter wall at the ends with a little peaked triangle on it, which is what the roof will rest on. I think I'll have the roof extending out a bit this way and also a bit down this way so that it forms a good fold. In this episode, I'm going to show you how I have cut out the pieces for my box and how I've kind of made them a size to work well with the hexagons, which are going to be the walls and the ends of the house. And then the roof's going to be clamshell, which will be the subject of a separate episode. And I'm going to show you how, I've put felt on to give myself a nice surface to add the stitching to, and how I am planning to use some lovely fabrics that I've got from French General to do the internal, and I'm planning to add some slow stitch elements to those as well, which hopefully I can get time in this episode to show you. So the walls of my house are going to be these hexagons. I'm using Epiflex templates, and I shared this in the previous episode, how I use Yoo-hoo glue to glue based onto these reusable plastic little laser cut templates. You can use English paper piecing style. I just love this little Aussie invention. I'm not at all affiliated with them, but I love using Epiflex, and I'm gradually building up my collection, and I love that they're reusable many times over. In fact, I have used these tiny little hexis so many times, bent them so many times, because in the stitching process you end up bending them. They've got these little lines to help you with that, and they stay perfect. I can wash the glue off them. I just tend to reuse them with the glue on them. It doesn't affect them at all. So I've been busy stitching. I've still got some of the Epiflex templates in, but some of them I've flipped out because I needed to have enough to keep sort of covering them. So I'm going to show you how I stitch them together, and also how I finish around the edges, just to make sure they're secure there when you flip the templates out. They just need some extra little basting stitches to hold them in place. So what I've done with my little hexagons, which I make out of quarters of a mini charm square. So you get 4 hexagons out of a mini charm square, which is just this size that you can see here. Ears, I arrange them so I kind of get a good distribution of colours, so not have the reds directly next to a red of the same tone. So I've got a few more bits to arrange down here, just so I get a good even rectangle. So I just want to do that same process of working out where they are going to go first. So I don't want to, for example, have these two next to each other. So I might have that one in there. I wouldn't want to have, say, 2 pinks next to each other. So I might put that one. In fact, I think I probably want that one maybe here. That's a slightly different red, so I'm okay if those two, although it's a bit similar to that one. So maybe I'd put that up there. Can have that one in here. One in there, and that one in there. So that's that's giving me a nice pattern, I think. So I just need to then just move this to the side. Keep these in their little arrangement. How did I have them? Like that, something like that. and then we can start to stitch them on. So I'm just using a cotton polyester thread. It's pretty strong. I've only had the odd occasion where it breaks. When I'm stitching, I like to leave the templates in until I've got everything sort of stitched against them that I'm going to need. So I've got to put, just reminding myself, yes, that one needs to go in there. So what I will do is I will lay this one against this one like this. I'll then bring my needle up from the, so this is the back of the hexi. Oops, the knot's not wanting to stay in place, so I might just do a little initial stitch just to hold the knot on. I think the knot's actually undone itself, but that's okay. Let me just make a notch here to start with my thread itself. Just do a second anchoring knot just to be sure. Okay. And so I've evolved, normally I would do a ladder stitch where I'm sort of running my needle along the seam, but because these are tiny little hexes, I find it easier to angle my needle up through the seam and along next to the plastic template, so it won't go through, the stitches won't show through. I'm just angling it so it just sort of travels up through a bit of the fabric next to where the plastic template is. But the stitches sort of have that same ladder effect of, not being visible from the front. So I've got the two back pieces showing, and I'll show you in a moment when we flip it over how it looks. So I hope you're having a lovely weekend. Saturday here, normally I'd be down doing some work on the house that I'm renting out soon, hopefully. But we'll be down there tomorrow because it's Mother's Day, so we're having lunch with my parents and catching up with Alex's parents, but I'll go down a bit earlier and do some bits and pieces. I think I just need to add a few more stitches just to get it fully anchored. I might have done these ones just a smidgy too loose, or possibly my knot has come out at this end. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Let's just give it a tighten and see if it tightens. Nope. Okay, we'll just work our way back down. That one probably wasn't the absolutely best demonstration, but that's okay. If it does ever look loose once you've done your stitches, you can just work your way down and it will all be all right. Yeah, I don't know if it is my knot actually worked its way out, or I just was doing looser stitches because I was too busy talking to you. That's much better. So yeah, easily fixed. If you flip it and it doesn't look quite right, just stitch back down. So I'm going to do a little anchoring stitch at this end just to hold it nice and tight, so like a little notch now that it's well in position. And then I'm going to just pass my needle, so put a stitch in where the fabric is and just run my thread up here, and then I'll put another little holding stitch in here, and then we need to stitch these two together, so I'm going to put them front to front, and this is where the folding of the little Epiflex templates comes in so handy, because this little template here is folded in half so that I can do the stitching where I need to do it. So start with just one stitch through at the end, and again I might just start with a little knot there, and then I'm going to do my angling up stitches. I think actually why it was loose before was I find it hard when the camera's right in front of my eye to actually see exactly what I am doing down here. Been lovely just working on this over a few evenings, getting this piece done. I was a bit worried originally. I thought, oh, have I taken too much on using such small hexes? But it's creating such a lovely effect, and it gives good value to get four hexes out of a little mini charm. So as you can see, that one's really nice and tightly done, and I've just put that little anchoring knot in at the end. I'll show you now what I do to go round and secure the edges. So this is going to be an outer edge like this one over here. So I put some little stitches in at each of the folds where I've done the glue basting. So there's a little fold here, so I'm starting off with a double stitch there. I go up to this fold, so I come in from under where the fold is and up through the fold. So this is all happening on the back, but it's just bolstering these little corner pieces for when we pop the template out. Hopefully the sun that is streaming through the window isn't going to cause too many shadow issues, but it is nice to be sitting in the sunshine. Sort of quite a windy day. I did a load of washed all the covers we have on the couches because Travis is a couch dog. When he was a guide dog puppy, he wasn't allowed on couches, but as a pet he is absolutely allowed. But when they're guide dogs, they're not allowed on beds or anything like that, because eventually they might have a handler, a vision impaired person that doesn't want them on their beds. So that's why they make sure that those of us training them don't train them to, or don't let them go on the bed, so that the future handler has the chance to make that decision themselves. Interestingly, many of the guide dogs that I do know as operational guide dogs, they get absolutely pampered. So that's all stitched around now, around the outside of that one, which is going to keep it secure. It's really just these outer edges, but I just brought it back down here. And I'll show you once we've got the other pieces in how we end up popping it out. So next I think I was going to come back, wasn't I? Just reminding myself how I'm planning to have it. Yes, like that. Okay. So next up we will put this one in here. So I'll put these two back to back. Turn the pieces over. Made some beautiful juice to go with breakfast. Alex quite likes to have a juice with breakfast, and I thought, oh, let's make some that we had years ago when we were staying at this beautiful little place where they made fresh juice with ginger and carrot and apple. I put some pear in as well. And some fresh mint, and it was just an orange as well, and it makes just the most lovely juice with fresh ginger, which I had in my veg box, and so that was delicious. But what I like to do, because I make it just in a like a blender, is I strain it to get the juice, but then I use the pulp, everything that's left behind, and make a pancake out of it. So I add one egg, some flour and some cinnamon. I don't add any sugar, I just use the sweetness from the fruit, and mix that up just with enough flour just to make a good little pancake batter, and then cook it almost like a pikelet, if that's a word that you have where you are. They're sort of a thicker, not a thin like crepe like pancake, but a thicker pancake. And I even put the maple syrup on the table, but I found I didn't need it because it just had a beautiful sweetness from the fruit pulp, and that way when you're having juice you get all the benefit of the fibre as well. So that was delicious. But the place where we first had it is in a part of Italy in the Tyrol region, but it's called Little Austria. We didn't know that when we went there, and we went to dinner and went into what we thought was an Italian, like just Italian sort of like village style restaurant. And we got there and we said buongiorno, or actually no, it would have been buonasera, good evening. And they looked at us a bit strange, and then we got to the table and the menu was like schnitzel and all sorts of more Austrian or German styled things, and we worked out that the region that we were in had a really strong Austrian heritage, and in fact is known as, yeah, little Austria. But we were sort of thinking, what on earth is going on here? So I don't think even a lot of the people speak Italian as a regular sort of at-home language. But it's also a beautiful wine region. Got beautiful lakes. The place we were staying had Vespers that you could use to ride around on. And we had actually before that trip, got our little licenses that allow us to ride on a motorcycle, on a Vespa. Not like my earlier trip to Italy where I could only ride around on the little plasticky Vespa that I was talking about in that other video where I was sharing that Vespa fabric. But yeah, Alex and I had a lovely time riding around on their little in-house Vespas. Okay, so I'll probably just do an anchoring stitch there as well. I like to just do those at the end of each run just to keep the thread nice and tight. Okay, that one can go in there. Again, it doesn't really matter what order you do them, as long as you're sort of keeping them square, they will end up fitting in even if they don't look quite right when you first do them. It's a pretty forgiving design. And I actually want this to look sort of like a vintage, hexi quilt that's been repurposed into this little house. So I don't mind if they've got a bit of a vintaged look. So yeah, I'm just doing these little angling up stitches. Running the needle up next to the template. When I get to the end of the row, I'll just put in my anchoring stitch. Probably might just run. I've got to get down that way anyway, so I'm just going to add one more stitch as I go down, just because it looked a little bit loose there. One more stitch there, and then get down to the bottom down here. And then I need to use the folding abilities of the template again. Try not to get tangled on myself. Yeah, so as you can see, it's quite nice once you get into the motion. But yeah, I find this little angle up is easier than trying to do the true ladder stitch style. And at the end I tend to do a stitch through just like this one, just to get it to hold nicely. I'm just going to give it a tightening up. And then I'll just do a little anchor notch. And then we need to do this piece here. I have periodically, when I've been doing this and not concentrating enough, ended up sort of stitching the wrong bit to the wrong bit, and then you fold it out and you're like, nope, that doesn't look right. At least you instantly know. Oops, just get that a bit squarer. You can use the little quilt clip, those little plastic quilt clips if you find it helps to hold it, but generally I find my fingers are fine. Even when it is a bit more fiddly on this little corner piece. You can see the seam over here looks a little bit loose, so I'm just going to do a few stitches there as well. Just to make sure that this is holding properly. Yep, that's better. Oops. Luckily I had it attached with the thread, so I will put another little knotty anchor in there, and then we need to continue over here. It's good. I've heard that from the winner of my little subscriber giveaway. She's on holidays at the moment, so she'd actually heard from a friend because she doesn't have good internet coverage. So she hadn't been able to see the video or probably see my comment on her comment on the video. But I'll wait to hear back from her and then get her package of fabrics off to her, which is the same. In fact, a few more than what you can see here. Because I ended up with the 2 sets when I did an online order recently, and so yeah, giving away one of the sets to the lucky Pat. Not even sure what country Pat's from. Not sure if it's the US or the UK. Don't think Pat's Australian. As I say with my little giveaways, happy to post anywhere in the world that I can post to. I think most places have a postal service of some description. And that's just looking a little bit gappy there, so I'm just going to apply an extra stitch or two. Give it a nice little pull tight. That looks okay, I think. So then I might also put one through here as well. And I'll do that as a little knotting stitch. And then we've got to sew these two together. Do a little stitch through this end as well. Okay. Right. Okay, so then I'm going to have these two, aren't I? Yep. Have that like that, I think. Okay. Oops. So hopefully if you are wanting to follow along with this project, this sort of gives you, if you are wanting to do hexis or even do hexis for another project, it just gives you a lovely, it's like those beautiful vintage quilts that you can sometimes find. but I don't think I've seen a vintage quilt that has hexis this small. I did get that little book cover case that had pretty small hexis on it, which I turned into a little thread carrier. Just checking that's tight enough. Just as I travel back down this way, I'll just put a few extra stitches in as well. Sometimes it just comes out slightly looser than other times, so always good to do an extra stitch or two. Check on it on the front, make sure you're happy it's holding together, and then do your next bit. Okay, so that's there. Now we'll do this bit. And so it's always just sort of, squaring them up when you start off, because you just want to make sure it's sort of, sitting in the right place as you do your stitches. Oops, caught catching it on there. Just made a little notch. Might have caught the fabric slightly weirdly with that stitch, so I'll just have to look how it looks once I've done this little row here. Oops, and I've just broken my thread. That's okay. We may end up having to just redo that little row anyway. Was it this one? Yes. We'll take those stitches out. Or if a stitch or two wants to stay, that's okay. We can leave that on the back stitch through it to hold it in place. Get myself a new bit of thread. As I say, that's a pretty rare thing to happen, but periodically. My threads are second hand, so they can sometimes be a little bit weaker, but I generally don't have a problem. So what I'll do where the thread broke there, and I've just managed to prick my finger with my very sharp chenille needle. Luckily this is a burgundy colour, but still I don't want to be bleeding on it. Just checking my finger, hopefully it's not going to bleed. So I'm just going to stitch over, if I can get my knot to hold. Let's get that there. I'll just stitch over where the thread is, and then that should hold it in place. Just do some extra stitches. Remember when I started doing videos, I was worried that I'd stab my finger and say a bad word, but I don't think I've done that yet. I feel like the fabric's flipping up a little bit because we did sort of doubly stitch it. Just check how that's going there. and it's looking okay. I was just worried it might be a bit loose because the fabric is sort of being a bit doubly disturbed. Ouch, stabbed my knuckle, but it's all okay. So that's come out nicely. So just do a little holding stitch here as well, like this. Oh, that time I did draw blood from my finger. That's careless of me anyway. I was sort of not working at a good angle. Hopefully that it was only a very small little prick, but all the same. Okay, and then we were going to have this one here, weren't we? Just checking I was staying in, yep, staying in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, yep, that's right. And then those two there. So we will put this one like that, I think. This is where it can sometimes just where you've got various ones at all different angles around it, just finding the right place to stitch, and also for me finding the right place with the camera as well. Let me know what you're stitching. Are you doing the Roxy project? If you haven't come across the Roxy Creations projects before, Roxy Journal of Stitchery. I'll include a link to Rachel and Sarah's YouTube channels in the description to this video. They do great projects where you can do your own spin, your own inspiration on them, like this prompt that we've got for a slow stitch box, and we can take it wherever we want. But yes, stay tuned for another video. I've got the materials ready for another box that I'm going to make as well. It is handy, as Rachel says, you can never have enough boxes in your craft room, particularly if they're nice to look at, have that nice sort of, yeah, slow stitch theme to them. It's pretty good. I'll probably just do a few little extra stitches as I travel down here. Just didn't look quite as tight as I wanted it to. Happier with that now, just having done those few extra little stitches. Do a little anchoring knot here as well, I think, before I start the next rung. All these threads that we don't need. Okay. So I need to put my little strengthening stitches around the outside here. So go up through the seam, not through the seam, through the fold, and then come over here through the fold. Do a couple of stitches there. This just helps to hold it sturdy as you flip the templates out. The sun is streaming through the window. I don't know if that's going to be a problem for you, so I might need to just, let's have a look how it's looking. Might need to, although it looks like it might go behind the clouds, so hopefully you can still see okay. It's hard for me to see what you can see on the camera because it is getting the glare of the sun on the screen. So I've just put those little anchoring ones in, and then I'll bring my needle, I'll just travel around even though I don't need to do them here. Although I can see a tiny bit of gaping in my seam there, so I might just come back and just add a few stitches, which you can always do if you kind of see anywhere where it does have an extra little bit of gaping. Okay, I'll travel around here. And up to here. And then I'll want to do the same anchoring little strengthening stitches around the outside of this one, because this will also be on the outside of the piece. Hold that in place. Just do another knot and then we'll get a new piece of thread to finish off the last two. And then we get the fun activity of flipping them out. I think we should still have enough time to show you how I am covering the cardboard and then show you my plans for the inside and the outside and how I'm going to attach it and embellish it. The end of the thread looks like it's unravelled somehow. I'm just going to get a new piece. I don't want it breaking midway through stitching these last two pieces on. I do hope the sun's not creating too much shadow sun effect on my work surface, but I'm loath to shut the blinds because it's nice to have some winter sun. Okay, so I was going to put this one in there. Just do 2 stitches to start. Again, we're just in that rather tricky positioning. Probably a more sensible way to piece pieces together than the way I did mine, but it's just where my desire took me as I was stitching. My main focus when I was starting to stitch together was just making sure not to put the same colours or similar design pieces next to each other. Okay, that's fine. So let's just do an extra little knotty stitch. Okay, and then we'll continue our way round. Again, just make sure it's nice and square. As you can see, templates, they even start to want to pop out themselves, so I can take that one out, which is great. Yeah, the Yoo-hoo glue is just a great little temporary adhesive. It's nicely done, so we can anchor that piece off. Okay. Oops. The hexi is such a great little shape. Got another one that I got in a semi-recent order from Epiflex. I think you can make like a bowl out of them, but they're not they've got less sides than this. I can't remember what they're called, what that shape is called. Now I might just jump my needle around and stitch down these sides first before I stitch the final piece on. So probably should actually do the piece here first. Oops. It's always that challenge of when you've got those little angling out pieces, the thread just wants to catch on them, doesn't it? It's actually really warm earlier on when I was tidying up the craft room. I had to strip right down. I don't know if it was the warmth of the house having warmed up. I think Alex had the heater on this morning. I tend to not need the heater in the morning. I just get warm by getting moving. But I think also the wind today isn't a cold wind. That's why I decided to get some washing out on the line as well and make the most of the breeze. I do much prefer things dried outside than dried inside. They just get that lovely fresh smell. Okay, so that side's done nicely. Yep. Just do a little knotting stitch. And we'll get these two together. Oops, sorry, just bumped the camera with my nose. Can you believe it? That's where my face is relatively to the camera. That's why sometimes it can be a bit hard to see properly. But you can't kind of bend over your work like you might do if you didn't have the camera there. I do hope the sun's not too much of a problem for you. least you've seen a fair bit of the stitching of the hexagons, so hopefully you're just working away on your project while we have a chat. And so that might look like too wide of a gap, but don't worry, it's all going to kind of pull into it. So at that point, don't stress out. Which way are we up? That way up. So I want these ones probably to go like that, I think. Yep. I just bang the camera again with my nose. I must have moved my chair or something and be I think I just am actually leaning forward. Oops. Oops, oops, oops. Okay, and that's there. And then we need to do the final sides. Oops. Let that one fold. Just make sure we have enough time at the end to show you how to cover the cardboard and how I'm approaching the inner piece as well. Right, and then just keep it nice and tight. Should probably put a little anchoring knot in here as well. Okay, so that's stitched in, and then we need to just get the final side done. Let me just tie this thread off, and I feel like I need a new thread just to finish. Oops, take the thread out. Okay, final pieces on. Just come through and put a knot in at this end here as well, just for a bit of extra strength. I just love these fabrics from the French General Moda mini charm squares. It's just so nice to have all of them in one spot, because I think I used every single one that I had looked out, in terms of a quarter of them, because yeah, the mini charm makes 4 hexagons, which is perfect for the 4 sides that I've got to do. Oops. I think I'll need slightly less for the end pieces, but they've got the roof piece on them, so they will use still a relatively similar number. But yeah, glad to be using things from my treasure stash. I don't want to be someone that's having to destash things at a destash market in the future because I haven't used things or shared things. Okay, so now we just need to do our little stitches to secure around these ones, so that when we pop out them, they're not losing their shape. We don't need to do one there. I'll just come back over here. Do one. I might just put an extra stitch in here because it's just looking a tiny bit loose at the end. And then just doing the little reinforcing stitch there. It's almost like it's trying to fray a little bit, so I might just take the reinforcing stitch a tiny bit higher. It's not too bad because these very end bits are going to be folded under anyway, so. And then just around to here. And we will finish off with a thread, and then we can do some popping out, which I do love. Let me just do one more stitch to make sure it's fully anchored. Okay, so there we go. That is that way up. Hopefully, again, I'm just checking that the sun's fine. You can see a little bit of sun rays on it. That's okay. Just pretend you're enjoying the sunshine with me. So with these end ones where I have now gone around with the thread, I can just use my little wooden knitting needle, and I just loosen up around both underneath the template, and it's got the little hole in the centre to make that easy. And then I just pop out one edge and then use my fingers to pop it out from the rest. Don't worry if it kind of turns in on itself, because it will turn out perfectly again after you're done. So this one in the middle here, that one should almost be kind of loosened through the process of stitching. They really do loosen up, but if you do need to just loosen any of the Yoo-hoo glue that might be attached a bit more firmly, like on this one, I just use my knitting needle just to get it loosened up. But I do find this stage very, very rewarding. I enjoy it a lot, the popping out. It must be anchored in somewhere. There we go. Popping out, another one here. Okay. Usually try and pop them out on the inside first of all, and then from the outer side. Probably don't need to do all the popping out. There's still a few more to go after this one, but that should be enough to show you the method, because I want to make sure I can show you what I'm planning or how I do the felt covered walls. So what I'm planning to do with the hexi piece is to fold it. And I can't do it where I've actually got a template sitting in it. Let me show you up here. So to fold it slightly past where the line, where these sort of inner points are. So that will be what I do at the top, and then at the sides I'll be just folding it slightly down below this, and so that will get folded under and then stitched onto my felt covered piece. And then on the insides I am planning to use this lovely fabric, and I will actually put this onto the felt first. What I'm thinking of doing first though with it is, so that it will have a slow stitchy look, is I will cut out a piece of felt that is the size of just slightly smaller than this. So sort of, I'll probably put my felt on it somewhat like that, and then just cut it down to be that size. I'll then use that and wrap or put my fabric with a bit of a seam around it, because ultimately I want a bit of edge to fold over at both ends, so that when I then put my piece on and have this folded over, there will be just a nice finish at the top of my box, and I'll be able to do a little ladder stitch along here to hold the two pieces together. So that's how I'll do it, but I'm thinking for this I want to be able to stitch into it probably with some little seed stitches around the outside of the design, and that's why I'm thinking I will do that with a piece of felt behind it first of all, leaving the seam around in the rectangle that I do, so that I've still got the fabric to be able to fold over. So let's pretend for a moment that I have actually done I've done all my little seed stitches into this and the felt, the loose piece of felt, and then I'll lay that over my other piece of felt and take it over that way. So I'll have that nice stitched effect on the inside. It will give an extra nice little bit of soft padding, and then on the front we're going to have this folded over, obviously a lot more neatly than that, and we'll have that lovely little place where it will be joined at the top. So that's the plan of attack for that. So let me show you now how I have covered these little cardboard pieces with felt. So I'll just take one of my rectangles here. So what I do first of all is apply some of my good friend the Yoo-hoo glue. And yeah, I'll come back and show you more in the next episode. Perhaps we'll do the stitching into the inner fabric as well. We've also got to do the clamshell pieces. So, but I thought in case you're wanting to get started on it. So here I will put it actually flush with the felt, so right up to the felt, but then we don't do that on both sides. So I'll do that there. I'm just having a look where my scissors are. So we'll cut this, making sure I'm not cutting anything else. Wouldn't it be tragic if I cut into my hexagons at this point? Okay. Keep that piece of felt. We never know when we'll need it. And then, actually I needed to leave a little, I shouldn't have come all the way over there, should I? But that's okay. Will we still be able to get a bit of an edge if we do it on an angle? We might still be able to, I think we'll be able to fix the problem, because I should have left a bit more edge at this side. Just a smidge. Sometimes with the felt you can stretch it, so if you're doing it, just leave a little bit more felt at that side, position it a bit more centrally, because you do need a bit of felt to fold over. In fact, actually I'll keep that. I will use that for something else. Let me just show you with this piece. It's still got enough glue on it, so we are going to put it flush at the bottom but leave a bit at the sides, on both sides. We're then going to trim it. Trim it up to there. And trim it up to here. Then we're going to put some more glue on. And then we're going to fold it over nice and tight and make sure it folds somewhat straight up the piece. And then we're going to leave ourselves a little, trim it down so that there's just a little overlap, because that's what we're going to use to fully cover the cardboard. I'll show you. So I'll start it off. I won't do the stitching all the way around because that will be tedious. I'll just show you how to do this if this is how you want to create a nice felt cover for your box. So I will grab some of my grey thread from in here. Doesn't matter because this is actually going to be covered. I was looking at my other ones that I'd done which looked so neat, and I was thinking, oh, I could even use this as the inside, but I thought no, I want to have the fabric covered insides. And so then all you'll need to do, to start with your knot in the back, even though it doesn't matter, as I say, it's going to be covered. And what you're going to do is just use the slightly longer side that you've left on that side. Let's get rid of the traverse hair as well. You're going to just take your needle, basically just doing an overcast stitch all the way along so that you get a nice fully covered piece of cardboard. Let me just get enough done so you get to see the effect. Stay on camera. And by just leaving this slightly longer bit, that can just sort of be pulled over with your stitches and brought over the bit of cardboard at the end. So it is fully felt covered. And so you just work your way all the way around doing that, and then you get that lovely covered edge, and you get something at the end that looks like this. So fully covered. The stitching's very neat, and that provides our wonderful wall base piece. So I better finish up there because we're just at the 1 hour and 2 minute mark, but I will definitely be back to keep working on this, but hopefully that gives you enough to keep going if you're following along. Thanks everyone.